Hi everyone, in this video of Accelerated Chess Dragon we're going to be looking at a game played between Mikhail Tal and Vasily Smyslov. This was played in the 1959 Candidates Tournament in Bled, Slovenia, and without further ado, let's look at this game. Tal starts the game off by playing the move e4 and c6 by Smyslov. We have d3 and now d5, and this is the rare variation of the Caro-Kann. And it's not really used as much as other variations, such as the exchange variation of the Caro-Kann, or the classical variation, or even the advanced variation. And it's somewhat similar to maybe a French defense Tarrasch system, as we'll see what Tal plays. Tal brings his knight to d2, just defending the e4 pawn, and e5 by Smyslov. Knight gf3, knight d7, and d4. So d takes e4, knight takes e4, and now e takes d4. Queen takes d4 by Tal, and knight gf6. So normal development, bishop g5, bishop e7, queenside castle, kingside castle, and knight d6. Using the very strong d6 square for an outpost for the knight. And this is good. It's also threatening the c8 bishop. Maybe you can try winning a piece on d7 if Smyslov isn't careful. So queen a5. Trying to bring the queen to the attack, and also aiming at this very vulnerable a2 pawn. And Tal doesn't actually defend it with the king. He instead plays bishop c4. You could indeed defend the pawn with your king, but if you did this, then after something like bishop takes d6, queen takes d6, knight e4, this would give Smyslov a bit of counterplay, bishop to d2. Then Tal could even just play the simple move, queen takes d2. And, I mean, after this, even if you try queen takes f8 check, knight takes f8, it doesn't matter even if you capture the queen on d2 with the knight, you're still going to lose the exchange back, and after, say, bishop e2, knight d1, rook d1, this would just give Smyslov a ton of development, and Smyslov would be better here. I mean, he's up one pawn, he can centralize his rook quite easily, and this would not be a very good idea for Tal if you play king to b1 as Tal. So instead of playing king to b1, Tal instead decides to defend with bishop c4. And this is okay, it's not as bad as king to b1. It still allows similar concepts, but it doesn't exactly give the same outcome. Smyslov instead plays b5. If you were going to think about playing this bishop takes d6 move, then after queen takes d6, knight e4, queen to f4, or even bishop d2, then it's not really a good idea to take on f2, because if you do this, then you allow bishop to e7, and now there's an attack on the rook, and maybe if you try something like knight takes d1, then you allow bishop takes f8, and then there's an attack on f7, so you might have to try sacrificing the exchange. So after knight c5, bishop takes f8, knight e6, bishop e6, bishop e6, and after, say, and you would allow something like bishop to b4, and maybe after queen takes a2. Maybe you could try this position as black, but it's a bit worse for black than white, because black is going to lose a piece, and thereby he's going to be a lot worse. So, not bishop takes d6, but instead playing b5, and kicking the bishop back and trying to activate this bishop on c8 via the a6 square. And bishop to d2 by Tal, attacking the queen, and now the queen retreats to a6. And knight f5. Tal is not going to save his bishop on c4 just yet. Bishop to d8, and queen to h4. Still not trying to save that bishop. And Smyslov actually decides to take the bishop, because he doesn't see the danger in what Tal is going to play. Tal plays the move queen g5, and this is the main reason why you should have avoided the bishop. You've already given Tal a very good position, and along with an attack, this is not going to end well for Smyslov. So, knight to h5, sacrificing the piece, but trying to get some counterplay in return. Tal does not grab the knight, because if you do play this move queen takes h5, then you first of all allow moves like knight f6, and followed by bishop takes f5, and also after this knight f6 and, say, queen g5, bishop takes f5, queen takes f5, you allow queen takes a2. And this is the major problem that Tal might be facing, and that is the infiltration of the black queen. And it doesn't seem like Tal has much ways of actually stopping that black queen from really infiltrating. Since if you play something like bishop b4, then maybe there are ideas like rook e8, and the queen is still on a2, and with a combination of moves such as bishop b6 and a5 and a4 and trying to break the position up, we can definitely see why Tal did not want to go into a position where he captures the knight and lets the queen on a6 infiltrate. So knight h6 check instead. King h8 and queen takes h5. And now you might be wondering, why doesn't Smyslov just capture the knight back? Well, because this just opens the king too much, and it allows too much counterplay. Bishop c3 check, and after f6, there's queen takes h6. And you already know that you're lost when all of these pieces are crowding around your king. There's options like g4 and g5, and if you try something like rook g8, then after rook he1, the activity that Tal has on all of these squares is just too much. He can try even sacrificing the exchange, and he would get too much initiative from just that. So it's not a good idea to give Tal the attack when in a position like this. So queen takes a2. Smyslov tries to maybe infiltrate, and he's already threatening checkmate on a1, but Tal plays bishop c3. Not only preventing the knight from being captured on h6, but also threatening knight takes f7 check in this case. Bishop c3 also clears the d2 square for the king to run to, so this is a good idea by Tal. And here Smyslov plays knight f6. Tal had to move up his sleeve. Can you find it? Okay, so the move that Tal played was queen takes f7, and the reason that this is a very good move is that you can't capture the queen. It's essentially immune from all captures. If you capture the queen, then there's obviously rook takes d8 check, and it doesn't matter which way you block, you're going to get checkmated as black. So, queen a1 check. And what Smyslov is trying to do is get some counterplay and maybe later capture the queen. So, king to d2, and now, unfortunately, Smyslov must give up the exchange. Why? Because there is no way for him to actually defend here. So, rook takes f7. The main problem is the undefended rook on f8. If the rook was able to be defended, then the position wouldn't have been the same. For instance, if the rook was able to be defended, Tal would not have played the move king d2 and allowed all of this, but because of the vulnerability of this f8 rook, this combination works. So rook takes f7, knight takes f7 check, grabbing the rook first, and after king to g8, rook takes a1, king takes f7, and knight e5 check. And point being that now Smyslov is down the exchange, and he has hardly any way to get any counterplay. King e6 by Smyslov, knight takes e6 by Tal, check, and after king e3, bishop b6 check was played, trying to maybe activate the bishops after, say, king takes e4. There would be an attempt like bishop b7, and after all of this, maybe you get some way of trying to activate this bishop pair, but instead of even capturing the knight on e4, Tal just plays bishop d4, and after this move was played, Smyslov resigned the game. Very brilliant victory for Mikhail Tal. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, please let me know in the comment section, and stay tuned for more chess.